All right, thank you very much, Kevin. Now let's get out to a friend of ours. It's The Bolt, 97.7 FM, KHBT in Humboldt. Alex Solsma. He's a Bishop Heelan grad, but he finds
another one?
Yes, he is.
Another one.
Yeah, a University of Iowa grad, too, though.
Okay.
You like that little?
No, I have no problem with Iowa. That's fine.
So he's welcome on the show then, right?
Of course.
All right, welcome, Alex. How are you, my friend?
Hey, well, it is good to know that I am welcome on the show. So.
You're always welcome, Alex.
Alex, we're having fun. Boy, it's got to be great. I know for you, no game tonight, but a lot of activity going on and a lot of excitement in the air as the pigskins start flying around the state. And I know you have to be pretty pumped up there in the Humboldt area.
I'm excited, and a lot of people in town are pumped up too, especially when they're taking a look at this Humboldt football team. They're actually in the middle of their sports string scrimmage right now, so fans are getting the first look at the squads in action tonight, and of course a week from right now they'll actually be taking the field for real, so a lot of excitement in the area.
Well, of course, Clear Lake, a really nice district in Class 3A, so to finish in the middle of it and try to qualify for the playoffs, it's got to be first and foremost if you're from Humboldt, because they've had some success in the past, including a state championship, but they've kind of been on hard times a little bit lately. How do they look this year?
Yeah, the district is really tough. You take a look at the district, 4 of Humboldt's 6 opponents this year had winning records last year, and you look at Clear Lake and Webster City, those two teams are number 1 and 2 in 3A for much of the regular season last year, and then you throw in a team like Waverly Shell Rock who had 7 wins, and it's a real tough schedule. And taking a look at Humboldt, though, there's a lot of optimism because they got a lot of returners on both sides of the ball, especially at the skill position and on each line. You know, looking at the offense, you have Ben Jacobson back. He'll be a quarterback. He's a senior. He started all last year. You have their leading rusher back, Nico Wheeler, and you have pretty much the entire offensive and defensive line back, too. A lot of the guys play both ways. And the big question mark on the offensive side of the ball seems to be wide receiver. They lose their 2 starting wide receivers from last year, and Charlie Friedel and Andrew Swan, who were both seniors last year. And it's not really settled yet who the starters are going to be. So maybe the fans will get a little inkling of that tonight as they're watching the scrimmage. Defense, the experienced secondary back, special teams. You have your kicker back, you got the long snappers, and you got the holder back. So a lot of returners, and I think a lot of people are thinking that this could be a good year for Humboldt.
Alex Solsma from KHBT in Humboldt joining us here. And Alex, you mentioned the difficulty of this district when you throw out the names of Clear Lake and Waverly Shell Rock, Webster City, and Iowa Falls Alden. What's a realistic expectation for this team that finished 3-6 last year?
You know, looking at the schedule from last year, it was kind of a roller coaster year. It was one of those years where you take away a few plays, Humboldt could have been a 1-win team, but a few more plays go Humboldt's way, they could have been a 6-win team. It was that kind of year. So they weren't really in the Clear Lake and Webster City games. Those games were kind of routes, but if you look at all the other games throughout the year, they were in every other game they played. And so you take a lot of those experienced guys who went through that grind last year, you bring them back this year, and I think realistically they could compete with every team in the district if they won. And Algona and Charles City, you know, both struggled last year, and Humboldt did pick up a win versus Algona, so you got to think they have a good chance to beat those 2 opponents, and you throw those other 4 on there, and who knows? I mean, it could be a year where maybe they could pick up some of those wins against the higher tier teams in the district.
Of course, some of the other teams you cover in the area, who are they besides Humboldt this year, Alex?
Well, we used to cover TRV, and unfortunately they aren't around anymore, Twin River Valley. But some of the other teams that we do take a particular interest in, West Bend Mallard, they play 8-man football. They're about 20 miles northwest of here. We got to watch them a little bit in the playoffs last year.
The maize and blue. The maize and blue
That's
Michigan
right.
helmets, yeah.
That's right, and they play the Michigan fight song, too, if you go to their game.
Yeah.
And so you look at them last year, their only 2 losses were to number 1 Armstrong Ringstead. They were 1 game away from getting to the Unidome. They got a lot of guys returning. They do lose their quarterback and leading rusher, Mitch Bonstetter, but a good nucleus of talent back. They're actually playing right now against Northwood Kensett. That one kicked off just a little after 7 o'clock. And then just east on Highway 3, you got Clarion Goldfield from Class 2A. They made it to the Unidome last year. They beat Humboldt 33-14 last year. I think there's a lot of question marks around that team, though, losing their two best running backs, their top two receivers. They do have some guys on defense back. They got their quarterback, Adam Stevens, back. But that's a team with a lot more question marks than, say, a Humboldt. And they both meet a week from right now. They'll be playing up in Clarion. And that game will be, of course, broadcasted on KHBT. And we'll be letting you know how that game goes during our scoreboard show.
Well, Alex, it's been great catching up with you, and I know you're keeping an eye on Humboldt, doing some studying as you get prepared to do your play-by-play next week. Folks will be hearing your voice on the Mid-American Energy Around the State in 90 seconds as you preview and go back and take a look back at your games of the week each and every football Friday night. We appreciate your help, appreciate your affiliation, and we look forward to talking to you each and every football Friday night.
Hey, I look forward to it. I can't wait. Thanks a lot, Tony and Geoff.
All right.
Oh, you got it.
Alex Solsma from the Bolt, 97.7 FM in Humboldt.